From a very young age, Hazrat Fatima grew up in a world that was very hostile to her and to her father. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was preaching a message which was not something that his fellow Arabs wanted to see, and that was something that they took out often in very degrading and very violent ways against him, against his supporters, against his family. And Hazrat Fatima, even at the young age of 10, had to witness this abuse that was inflicted on our parents. And if we look at our children, if we think about our kids, if we think about ourselves as kids, we understand that our children, they look up to their parents. They see their parents as a shield against the ugliness of the world, but Hazrat Fatima was exposed to this ugliness from a very young age. In one of the narrations from a scholar that I regretfully cannot remember, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was praying at the mosque in Mecca when 3 people who did not like what he had to say, they came and they threw the innards of camels and goats on him, right in front of his daughter, right in front of Hazrat Fatima. And Hazrat Fatima narrated how powerless she felt in that situation as a young girl at roughly the age of 10, how powerless and how weak and unable to affect the situation she felt. And she described picking off pieces of those innards off of her father, even as he continued to pray. I would say that very few of us could have the same strength to survive in such a situation against such abuse from our neighbors. Yet Hazrat Fatima, she carried on with dignity. She survived and she pushed through the challenges that she faced. As she grew up being chased from her home, from Mecca. She accompanied her father on the hijrah to Medina. And she watched as their Muslim nation was attacked repeatedly by the Meccans. She watched as her beloved husband, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he would put himself against the swords of their enemies to protect the Muslims time and time again, and she would patch his wounds and the wounds of her father. She would watch them suffer through indignity and through battle, and yet she never lost faith. She never lost faith in Allah. She never lost faith in His messenger. She never lost faith in His message. She survived. She kept true to what she believed. Few of us could perhaps say that given the challenges that the early Muslims faced, that we would stay as true to our faith as Hazrat Fatima did to hers. Even despite all of this, she remained a mother and a wife to her sons, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and her husband, Imam Ali, respectively. Imam Ali, one day, he went out to get food. As he was returning, he met a group of beggars with nothing. And he gave what little food he had to them. And he came back empty-handed to Hazrat Fatima, and yet she understood the necessity of this. She understood the necessity of this charity. She stayed true to the ideals of generosity, even when facing such difficulty. She suffered through the poverty of living in Medina at a time when, as I said, the Muslim community, it was under attack. It was desperately trying to survive, yet she stayed strong for her husband and for her sons. And for us today as Muslims, as we go through the challenges that we face as a community around the world, the challenges that we face as individuals, financial challenges. Many of us, we suffer from financial challenges. We should look to this example to stay generous even in a time of poverty, even when we suffer through poverty and through adversity. And as I said, we see this in Hazrat Fatima. What we can take away from this is that perseverance is not to be taken lightly. Hazrat Fatima endured more challenges than we could expect, and yet she persevered. She survived through the death of her father, and she refused to give in to the imposition of the Khalifa of Abu Bakr. When she was denied her property by the new government that followed the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she did not simply accept the indignity that was taken on her. She refused to back down. She went out and she implored. She argued. She enforced her right to her father's estate, to her father's name, and to her father's legacy, and to the message that her father had left for all Muslims and for all mankind. Even despite knowing that to go against the ruling regime of her time would have been dangerous, she refused to back down. She refused to surrender on what is right and what is just. And she carried through that message of justice and perseverance for us to follow. We complain about the problems that we have. We complain about the issues and the adversity that we face. But Hazrat Fatima never complained. She took the challenges that she faced with dignity and with knowledge that she would be compensated 1,000-fold by Allah in the hereafter. And that is the lesson that we must take. That as hard as our lives may get, as the challenges that we face as a community get, we cannot simply give in. We cannot simply say enough is enough and just let these challenges overwhelm us, be they financial challenges, be they personal challenges, be they illness or family challenges. We should take this lesson from Hazrat Fatima to always stand strong in the face of these sorts of adversities, to never give up and to never give in. And we should look at how even when it is not convenient to stand up for what is right, she chose to stand up for what is right. She chose to enforce her rights. She chose to have her father's side, even when she was a young child, against men that could have struck her down in any number of ways. She chose to stand by her father, even when it would have meant ostracization. And we know for kids, fitting in, trying to be part of the wider community, it's everything. But Hazrat Fatima, she knew that to stand for what is right, even at such a young age, it was worth ostracization. It was worth being left out, being thrown aside by her neighbors and by her community. And that is what we should take away from this.